Okay, boys and girls, so we are here. We are reviewing textbook pages 43 and 44 that you completed today. And again, we are estimating. So I know that on Friday we began working with estimation, and really, boys and girls, the reason that we estimate is to reinforce our concept and our understanding of rounding, and also to check to see if our answers are reasonable, meaning that they make sense. So let's look at question number 5 together. It looks like they've given you part of the problem here, so kind of telling you which place value you're rounding to. But remember, like in our math meeting, those of you that were there on Friday, we said that you look at this whole number, 5,323, and you think in your brain, what is that really close to? And I think we can all agree that it's very close to the number or the amount 5,000. Then you look at the bottom number, 2,611. And if you're thinking about on a number line, is that closer to 2,000 or 3,000? Yes, it is closer to 3,000. So now we just simply add 5,000 plus 3,000 would give us an estimated total of about 8,000. Let's move over. You guys were doing 5 through 10, odd. So now let's go on to number 7. So again, they've included here the zeros, which indicate that we're rounding to the nearest 10,000s place. So when you look, if you have a number like 49,000 and you're thinking, okay, is that closer to 40,000 or is it closer to 50,000? You are correct. It is closer to 50,000. Now let's look at the number on the bottom, 59,499. Is that going to be closer to, again, you're looking at the zero here, 50,000 or 60,000? Right, we can all agree that's going to be closer to 60,000. So now we go ahead and add those amounts. Obviously the zeros still add up to 0. And 5 plus 6, so I know 5 plus 5 is 10. So add one more and that would be 11. You would read this number 110,000. Great. Let's look at number 9. So they have not given us a place value to round to, so we can decide how we would like to estimate or round these numbers. So 738,000. Well, when I look at that, I think that that's really close to, I could even round to the 100,000s and think, is it closer to 700,000 or 800,000? This is actually going to be closer to 700,000. Because 738 is closer to 700 than 800. Do the same for this one. 272,044. So if I'm rounding to the nearest 100,000s place, right, I want to think, is the number 272 closer to 200,000 or is it closer to 300,000? That is correct. It is closer to 300,000. Now I add up my zeros. 7 plus 3 is 10. So this actually has an estimated sum of 1 million. Okay. So that covers 5 through 10 odd. Now let's go to the back. Now we are looking at problem number 14. We're referring to this table here at the side. I always like to look at these tables first. It looks like we have a school district here and the number of students. So we have the first school is Wilson Elementary, and then Hearst Academy, Kwame Charter School, and Evers Elementary. And then you see the number of students that attend each school. Number 14, the table shows the number of students at each school in the district. Is 2,981 reasonable for the total number of students at Wilson Elementary and Kwame Charter School? Okay. So they've given us this amount, and they want to know if it's reasonable. Does it make sense for the total? So that's a keyword. I'm going to box that in. Number of students at, and we're looking at 2 elementary schools, Wilson and Kwame. And then we need to explain. Well, Wilson Elementary, if I go over to the table, that's this one right here. And then Kwame is right here. So I'm just going to rewrite those amounts. 1,523. Oops. Probably help if I recorded those correctly. And the next one, Kwame, was 1,458. And now I'm finding the total, so I know that I'm going to add. But I want to know if it's reasonable. So I'm actually going to round up. So 1,523, that's really close to just 1,500. And then 1,458, that's also really close to 1,500. If I add those two together, 0 plus 0 is 0, 0 and 0 is 0, 5 plus 5 is 10, so I put the 0 here, carry the 1. 1 plus 1 plus 1 is 3, so it's about 3,000. So now I need to explain. Yes, it is reasonable because each district has almost 1,500 students. And then I might write something like 3,000 is close to the original 2,981. Okay, moving right along. Number 15. A satellite moves at a speed of 27,950 kilometers per hour. A satellite at a higher orbit travels at a speed of 11,190 kilometers per hour. So I guess there are two different satellites. About how much faster is one satellite than the other? Well, how much faster? That tells me that I'm subtracting. And they want to know how much faster one is than the other. Oops, wrong way. So I'm going to record these amounts here, 27,950, and then record the second one, 11,190. Now these are not telling me what I need to round to or what I am estimating, correct? So I know that for me, I like really easy peasy numbers to work with. 27,950, that's really pretty close to the number 28,000, right? And then 11,190, that's going to be really close to 11,000. So if you really pay close attention and you think, which place value did Mrs. Body round to? I think that I rounded to the nearest thousands place. So now I can go ahead and subtract to find the difference. 8, take away 1 is 7. 2 minus 1, 1. So it's about 17,000. Now I know, boys and girls, that sometimes when it says explain how to estimate, that gets tricky because you see you don't have very much room here. Maybe I just want to write a note like rounding to the nearest 1,000. And again, the whole point of this is just to really become familiar with like these numbers before we really jump into computation where we're adding and subtracting them, because we will get there. But right now, we just want to reinforce and revisit those skills of rounding to determine if our answers are reasonable. Moving right along, number 16. L says, when rounding to the nearest 1,000, okay, so we're given a specific place value to round to. 928,674 rounds to 930,000. And the question is, do you agree and explain? So I always like to rewrite these. You're probably becoming like more accustomed to hearing me say that now. And I want to round to the nearest 1,000. So I know that I'm going to underline the thousands and look at the neighbor, and that's going to be the bossy one that tells this guy right here what to do. So this is 5 and above. I'm assuming that I'm going to give this 8 a shove. I know that these two numbers do not change. Sometimes you see that wavy like equal sign. It means like about. So if those two numbers do not change, it's 92, but this is going to give it a shove. The number that comes after 8 is 9. The remaining digits all become 0. So this is incorrect. It would round to 929,000. Excellent. Last one. This one's kind of tricky, guys. Right away you look at it and you think, whoa, that's like a really long problem. You are correct. So we may need to read this once or twice. A football team needs to sell at least 20,000 tickets to 2 games to cover expenses. Okay, so that's how many they have to sell. Okay, boys and girls, sorry about the interruption. I was hoping to get through that before announcements got started this morning, but that's okay. We can go back and reread this one. A football team needs to sell at least 20,000 tickets to 2 games to cover expenses. They sell 10,184 tickets to 1 game and 9,723 to the other. Estimate by rounding to the nearest 1,000 and by rounding to the nearest 100. Did the team sell enough tickets? Explain your answer. Wow, that's a lot there. So remember, they need to sell this amount of money, right? They need to have that much money to cover the expenses or the cost. They have 2 different games. So game number 1, 10,184 tickets, and then 9,723 for the other. Basically want to know, is that almost 20,000? So if we have here, rounding to the nearest 1,000, then that would round to, what do you think? Right, this is 4 and below, so it's going to let that go. So this would stay 10,000. And then rounding to the nearest 100, if we underline the hundreds place and then look here at the neighbor, what do you think about that one? So the 9 doesn't change in the thousands place. You are correct. This is 4 and below, so it's going to let the 7 go. So the 7 will stay a 7. The other 2 digits become 0. Now when we add this one together, 0 plus 0 is 0, 0, 7. 10 plus 9. You can look at the entire number. Or if you want to look separately, 0 plus 9 is 9. And then 1, bringing that down, stays a 1. So 19,700. So did they sell enough tickets? No, because they sold about 19,700. Now, I really didn't care for this question, guys, because it was a little vague here. Estimate by rounding to the nearest 1,000 and by rounding to the nearest 100. So maybe, I don't know if they wanted you first to round both numbers to the nearest 1,000 and see what that amount was, and then round to the nearest 100 and then see that total or that estimate. So this question was a little vague, so I wouldn't stress out about this one too much. You will see questions that will tell you in a more specific way which number you're rounding to which place value. All right, so I hope that helps. You've checked over your work. Sorry again for no math meeting this afternoon. If you have any questions, though, you can message me on Schoology or reach out to me through Remind.